boys and girls. Thought we would go ahead and do a little bit more reading on our Ramona book, so I'm going to go ahead and get to it. At last, the big hand crawled to 5. Ramona slid off the chair and slammed the door behind her as she started off to school alone. So far, so good, but as soon as Ramona reached the sidewalk, she realized that something was wrong. In a moment, she understood what it was. The street was too quiet. No one else was walking to school. Ramona stopped in confusion. Maybe she was mixed up. Maybe today was really Saturday. Maybe her mother forgot to look at the calendar. I bet some of you already realized what the problem was from the reading the other day. She thought 1/4 was 25 minutes past, and those of you that are good with telling time, you know that's not right, right? No, it cannot be Saturday because yesterday was Sunday. Besides, there was Henry Huggins' dog, Ribsy, trotting along the street on his way home from escorting Henry to school. Today really was a school day because Ribsy followed Henry to school every morning. Maybe the clock was wrong. In a panic, Ramona began to run. Miss Benny would not want her to be late for school. She did manage to slow down and look both ways before she walked across the streets, but when she saw that Henry was not guarding his usual intersection, she knew that the traffic boys had gone in, and she was even later than she had thought. She ran across the kindergarten playground and then stopped. The door of the kindergarten was shut. Miss Benny had started school without her. Ramona stood puffing a moment, trying to catch her breath. Of course, she could not expect Miss Benny to wait for her when she was late, but she could not help wishing that her teacher had missed her so much. She had said, "Class, let's wait for Ramona. Kindergarten isn't any fun without Ramona." When Ramona caught her breath, she knew what she should do. She knocked and waited for the door monitor to open the door. The monitor turned out to be Susan, who said accusingly, "You're late." "Never mind, Susan," said Miss Benny, who was standing in front of the class, holding up a brown paper sack with a big T printed on it. "What happened, Ramona?" "I don't know," Ramona was forced to admit. "I left at 8:15 like my mother told me." Miss Benny smiled and said, "Next time, try to walk a little faster," before she continued where she had left off. "Now, who can guess what I have in this bag with the letter T printed on it? Remember, it is something that begins with a T. Who can tell me what T sounds like?" "T, t, t," ticked the kindergarten. "Good," said Miss Benny. "Davy, what do you think's in the bag?" Miss Benny was inclined to bear down on the first letters of words now that the class was working on the sounds letters make. "Caterpillars," said Davy hopefully. He rarely got anything right, but he kept trying. "No, Davy, caterpillar begins with C. K, k, k. What I have in the bag begins with T. T, t, t." Davy was crestfallen. He had been so sure that caterpillar began with T. T, t, t. The class ticked quietly while it thought. TV, tadpole, teeter-totter. Ramona ticked to herself as she wiggled her tooth with her fingers. "Tooth," she suggested. "Tooth is a good T word, Ramona," said Miss Benny, "but it's not what I have in the bag either." Ramona was so pleased by Miss Benny's compliment that she wiggled her tooth even harder and suddenly found it in her hand. "Miss Benny," she cried without raising her hand, "my tooth came out." Someone had lost a tooth. The kindergarten began to crowd around Ramona. "Seats, boys and girls," said Miss Benny. "Ramona, go rinse your mouth, and then you may show us your tooth." Ramona did as she was told, and when she held up her tooth for all to admire, Miss Benny said, "Tooth." T, t, t. When Ramona pulled down her lip to show the hole where her tooth had been, Miss Benny did not say anything because the class was working on T, and hole did not begin with T. It turned out that Miss Benny had a tiger, stuffed, of course, in the bag. Before the class started seat work, Ramona went to her teacher with a precious bloody tooth and asked, "Would you keep this for me?" Ramona wanted to be sure she did not lose her tooth because she needed it for bait to catch the tooth fairy. She planned to pile a lot of clattery things like saucepans and pie tins and old broken toys beside her bed so the tooth fairy would trip and wake her up. Miss Benny smiled as she opened a drawer of her desk. "Your first tooth. Of course I'll keep it safe so that you can take it home for the tooth fairy. You're a brave girl." Ramona was so happy that the morning went quickly. Seat work was unusually interesting. The kindergarten now had sheets of pictures, 3 to a row, printed in purple ink by a ditto machine. One row showed a top, a girl, and a toe. The kindergarten was supposed to circle the top and the toe because they both began with T and cross out the girl. Ramona dearly loved to circle and cross out and was sorry when recess time came. Want to see where my tooth was? Ramona asked Eric J. She opened her mouth and pulled down her lower lip. Eric J. was filled with admiration. Ooh, where your tooth was is all bloody, he told her. The glory of losing a tooth. Ramona ran over to Susan. Want to see where my tooth was? She asked. No, said Susan, and I'm glad you were late because I got to open the door my very first day as a door monitor. Ramona was indignant that Susan had refused to admire the bloody hole in her tooth. No one else had bravely lost a tooth during kindergarten. Ramona seized one of Susan's curls, and careful not to pull hard enough to hurt Susan, she stretched it out and let it spring back. Boing, she cried, and ran off, circling the jungle gym and coming back to Susan, who was about to climb the steps to the traveling bars. She stretched another curl and yelled, boing. Ramona Quimby, shrieked Susan, you stop boinging me. All right, we're going to stop right there. We'll pick up again next time. One thing I did want to say, though, congratulations to Kason Peterson. He leveled out of Lexia. So many of you have leveled up also. I don't know, there's probably been at least 12 of you who have leveled up since we've been out of school for the NTI days. But congrats to Kason. He has leveled out. So anyway, Kason, you can read on a chapter book and get started on a little project. Thanks. Till next time.